Well, Jeff, how big of a deal is this?
Well, it's very important because, remember, the core of the obstruction of justice investigation here is whether James Comey was improperly pressured to lay off the Russia investigation, whether he was improperly pressured by the president. Part of that is whether he was asked for loyalty. Of course, it ends with Comey being fired. But the question of whether he was pressed for loyalty is very important. The president very clearly, as we saw in that interview with Jeanine Pirro, said it never happened. Comey said it happened. Comey said he wrote contemporaneous memos about his recollections of these conversations. And now it appears McCabe is corroborating Comey's versions of those conversations. All of that is powerful evidence that Comey was pressured to stay loyal to the president. It doesn't seal the case. It's not a smoking gun, but it is certainly evidence that tends towards the theory that some kind of obstruction of justice occurred here.
Interesting. Gloria, what's the latest sense you're getting on what President Trump thinks about the Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe and whether this news of McCabe's testimony could further exacerbate the tensions between the president and the FBI?
Well, the president didn't think much of Andrew McCabe going into this testimony. He's probably going to think less of him coming out of it. I mean, you'll remember last July, the president was tweeting about McCabe saying, why didn't Attorney General Sessions replace acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe, a Comey friend who was in charge of the Clinton investigation, et cetera? And anything that corroborates something that Comey said is not going to sit well with the White House. I think the question is how angry will this make the president also about Jeff Sessions, who did not replace McCabe. The president believes that McCabe is a Democrat, that his wife ran for a Democratic seat in Virginia. Hillary Clinton donated $700,000 to his wife. And so the president believes McCabe was biased from day one. I want to point out, however, that Chris Wray, the new head of the FBI, has pushed back on suggestions that McCabe operates in any kind of a biased way at the FBI.
Robby, you wanted to say...
Well, I think it was Terry McAuliffe that made a contribution.
Oh, that's right.
Not Hillary Clinton.
The governor of Virginia.
Sorry, you're right. Donated to Terry McAuliffe.
Terry McAuliffe, who is completely separate from Hillary Clinton.
Right.
It was a Virginia state race. And Terry McAuliffe is the Democratic governor of Virginia.
He's the head of the Democratic Party. It is not unusual for the head of the Democratic Party in Virginia to give to candidates running in Virginia.
Jason, you're a Trump loyalist. How concerned are you about this testimony that presumably corroborates what James Comey was saying, and some of that potentially could be at the heart of any obstruction of justice case?
Well, not at all. I mean, of course, former Director Comey is going to give the same story to Deputy Director McCabe as he would have put down in his notes. But it's also important to keep in mind that former Director Comey essentially cleared Secretary Clinton even before she came in for her interview over 4th of July last year. But taking a step back for a moment here, I think there's one thing to keep in mind. We have tens of thousands of people in the FBI and the DOJ who show up to work every single day, who check their political allegiances or any of their ideological underpinnings at the door, and who don't want to get involved in this in any way, shape, or form. But something happened in 2016, and that is our law enforcement became highly politicized, both through the investigation into Secretary Clinton, which, Robby, I know you're not sending Director Comey any Christmas cards this year. That is for sure.
We can agree on that.
We'll agree on that. But as that went through, but whether it be with Loretta Lynch meeting with former President Clinton in this magical tarmac meeting, all the politicization that went on with all of our law enforcement. I think we're at a point now where most Americans just want to see all of this completely removed. And if there are investigations or if there are aspects of oversight from Capitol Hill, people want to see investigations, get to the bottom of it, but get the politics out of it.
Robby, you're the former Clinton campaign manager.
If somebody is guilty tonight, it is the House Republicans are guilty of stepping on their own agenda. They just passed this tax bill, and they can't help but talk about Hillary Clinton and her emails. It is incredible to me. And they are defending a president who day by day looks more and more guilty. Just let this investigation go on. Let Robert Mueller do his job and get about legislating. I honestly, I am stunned sitting here. I think this tax bill is atrocious. I think they shouldn't celebrate because I think they're going to lose the House because of it. But my God, just let Hillary Clinton go for a second and celebrate your own accomplishment.
Well, hold on, Jeff, 1 second.
Okay.
Go ahead, Gloria.
I also don't think you could say that the entire FBI is politicized, or that, somehow it's a rampant, an organization run amok. I think that in any organization you have some problems, but you can't, you can't say that the entire FBI under the last director was a terrible place.
Oh, I
don't think you can say that. So you can't tarnish it because maybe the president doesn't like Andrew McCabe, or he didn't like James Comey, or I think that just takes it a step too far.
Completely agree, but I think we can also agree that the way that politics has been infused into the debate surrounding the FBI, the DOJ, is something that is
by Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the one who infused the politics.
That's not something that had
he made this bet.
We got Jeffrey Tubin. Jeffrey, go ahead.
I mean, this idea that politics has been infused as if it was magically infused from the outside. Andrew McCabe is a career FBI official whose wife had a job. A lot of people's wives have jobs and husbands have jobs. There is no evidence that Andrew McCabe did anything improper here. There's no evidence that his wife's career, which she is more than entitled to have, affected his performance in the job. The mere fact that his wife was running for a state job in Virginia has nothing to do with whether the FBI was politicized. I mean, it's just a completely phony issue to distract from the fact that Andrew McCabe, like James Comey, has given powerful evidence, apparently, of obstruction of justice by the President of the United States.
So, Jeffrey, if I can jump in for a moment, though. So you don't think that the investigation into Secretary Clinton's emails was in any way bungled? You think it was handled absolutely smoothly?
I think there were definite problems with it, but I don't think it had anything to do with Andrew McCabe. And the person who should be complaining about that investigation is Hillary Clinton, whose campaign was, it seemed to me, destroyed on the eve of the election by the fact that James Comey felt compelled to announce that the investigation was reopened, which turned out to be a big nothing. That's the person with the real grievance here. Donald Trump should be worshiping the ground that James Comey walked on, because he probably more than anyone made him president of the United States. You don't think that's right, Jason?
Let me get Robby on that. You believe, and Hillary Clinton believes, that in those final days of the campaign, when Comey said he was reopening the case, Hillary Clinton believes, let me get your thoughts, that was the kiss of death. That's why she lost.
It was devastating. It was devastating. She lost by 70,000 votes spread across 3 states. I was there. I was in the office. We saw those numbers dropping. We heard on the ground how it created enormous doubt. He basically went out and said, I think I found that she could potentially be a criminal, and then 2 days later pulls it back. It was outrageous, and I've been very critical of him about that. But here's the thing. If the Republicans are really so worried about politicizing the FBI, why aren't they bringing in Rudy Giuliani? I remember on television he predicted preternaturally that the FBI was going to make a stunning announcement just before that letter came out. What about the leaks that were coming out constantly from their New York field office about the investigation? I completely agree with Jeffrey. Hillary Clinton has a lot to complain about, but this is, again, my point. Why in the world, a year after the election, are we still relitigating this? This is all to distract.
And I will point out to you, Jason, that Christopher Wray, the new FBI director, he was testifying the other day up on Capitol Hill. He gave a very strong vote of confidence for his deputy director, Andrew McCabe.
Well, I mean, where I would actually agree with Robby is I think the timing of this, I mean, I have no idea what the House Republicans were thinking with scheduling this for today and why they're doing it now. I heard some different things that maybe they were going to actually be getting into some more of the whole dossier issue and why the heck there may have been government funds going to this or who knew what and when. But the bottom line is, with such a huge win off of tax cuts, and this is the only thing that anyone with an R by their name should be talking about heading into the holidays. So I would agree with you on that. But going back to my broader point earlier, whether it be the FBI or the DOJ or anyone in law enforcement, we got to get the politics out of it, and the fact that we might have senior folks at the DOJ going to Hillary Clinton's election night party. I mean, I'm sure probably in retrospect probably wasn't all that fun. But we need to take all of this out of it and let law enforcement do their job and not have these few people who are getting highly political.
Then why
does
Donald Trump politicize every single time? Why did he fire James Comey? Because